What's up, everybody? This is EJ from Blue Chip Scouting. I'm here with my boy Ramir, also from Blue Chip Scouting. And we got Devin Jackson here from the Philadelphia Inquirer. We're going to go through a Eagles mock draft for you. Going to be real quick. First thing, we're not doing any trades. We just going to do straight through. Second of all, we wanted to address the elephant in the room. At the 10th pick, do not expect Bijan Robinson to be in the discussion. We know what the Eagles are. We know what they do. So we not if you listening for Bijan Robinson, cut it off right now. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean Bijan, man, and look, he's an all world talent.
All right. Without further ado, we're gonna get right into. Yeah, right. He's definitely all world talent, but I mean, we know
how we're not doing that at 10. You're paying a running back room $5 million, the entire room. There's no way he takes a running back at 10
at all. All right, so can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's okay. Oh, we do, yeah. Let's try this again.
Oh man, what happened?
Okay, so we rejecting trades. I don't want to trade with the Giants anyway.
True.
So I see what I want already. But I'm gonna leave it to y'all. What y'all want?
See, in my head, with the moves that they made so far this offseason, edge rusher is the one thing that I think they would do at 10. Now, I see Gonzo sitting there, and he's making it very hard to pass up on him. But do you think that they let them sit or let him sit for a year or two?
I mean, to be honest, I don't think he would sit. I mean, you play him somewhere in that secondary. You know, whether it's you put him at nickel, you move it around. I feel like you taking a DB this early, he got to be on the field. So I don't know, man. I would take Gonzalez since he's there, but like this one's a tough one for me.
Yeah, same.
Because edge is certainly a need, but I won't say a need, but an
They can get
attractive
better.
move. But
Yeah. I don't think they have much depth outside of Sweat and Reddick as far as edge rushers. Like, how much are you getting from Derek Barnett coming off of what he had, an ACL surgery?
Yeah, and he's not that good of a player anyway.
Yeah.
They definitely need some depth, like on the defensive line. I was thinking more specifically defensive tackle, but at 10, is it a little rich?
Yeah, there's no one I would pick as a defensive tackle at 10.
Yeah, I mean, if Jalen Carter fell, maybe, but
Yeah.
10 might be a bit rich. And the defensive tackle class, maybe you wait day 2 to address it. I mean, they got some good names on day 2 as well. So, for me, I think it probably has to be Christian Gonzalez here, just based on the fact that he's on the board. You don't expect him to be on the board at 10. And then, I mean, you look at what's available. I mean, most of it's really, you're getting to like the second tier of edges or third tier edges, wherever you have them. I mean, maybe you can go Van Ness, maybe you can go a Nolan Smith, but there's a good chance they might be available. One, at least one of them, or another edge player will be available at 30. So I would say Gonzo here.
I agree.
Yeah.
I say he's the most scheme versatile. You want to play man, you want to play zone. With the Eagles, what they want to do, they want to be a lot of match man coverages, and he can do that. He's just the best player on the board.
Yeah. It's with how technically sound he is and how athletic he is, it's almost impossible to pass up on him.
All right, so we're going to do Christian Gonzalez.
I think that's a good pick.
No, Chargers, we're not doing that. Shut up. All right, so we had 30.
The Bengals.
Yeah, they sniped Nolan.
See, I still feel like we could go defense again. I think since we're not doing trades, I tweeted it before. I think that if they do trade back and get an extra day 2 pick, they definitely pick someone on offense, like a skill position player. But we're not doing any trades, so that's kind of out the picture. You don't draft for need, but I feel like you don't need anybody on offense, so you can afford to stack up on defense.
Yeah, for me, I would probably go trenches here, just based on who's on the board still. Receiver wise, Zay Flowers is certainly enticing. But I would say maybe offensive line or defensive line here, like interior defensive line. I would say they got some interesting names. Darnell Wright, obviously, DeJuan Jones. I think after those 3 tackles, after that the value really isn't there. I like Cody Mock and the positional versatility he has, but at 30, I think that's way too high for a guy like him. I mean, if we go defensive tackle, I mean, we know a guy like Kalijah Kancey has been linked, possibly to the Eagles drafting him and being more of a one gapper and basically using his skill set to disrupt in the passing situations, especially. But I think after him, I mean, the value just isn't there with a lot of these guys. Like, it's a little too early for a Mozzie Smith, a little too early for a Gervon Dexter, who I think has upside, but I think he's more of a third round pick. And obviously, you can go edge. You can go someone like a Adetomiwa, Adebawore, someone that has a little bit of versatility on the defensive line and can play a 3 tech, can play a 4 high as well. So that's where I'm kind of leaning Adebawore here in this particular mock situation, or Kalijah Kancey. That would be probably the 2 guys that I would probably zero in here. But like I said, offensive line could be a need. You could get a DeJuan Jones and let him develop, but that's kind of where my thinking is.
Yeah, for me, it's between offensive tackle and defensive tackle, because with Darnell Wright, say he can play right tackle. Lane has about 2 years left. My guess.
Yeah.
So Darnell Wright also has guard experience. Could we let him compete at right guard until Lane is ready to move on, then kick him outside? Because, the Eagles like to think a couple years down the road.
Yeah.
And then Adetomiwa Adibaware, he's just, I like him better than Cansey. He's a little bit bigger, longer arms, just as explosive. I can see him kicking in that 4-eye. You can put him at a 5 tech. He's got a major speed advantage over those interior linemen. So it's with Adibaware, you get more immediate impact. Darnell Wright is probably more of down the line pick.
I like your thinking, but I think Darnell Wright is just way too enticing here for Howie to pass on him, and that 5th-year option is going to be big for getting him, because what if Lane decides to play 3 more years? You still have Darnell Wright for 2 more after that. I like Adibaware, and I think that his versatility is something that Howie values, or that the team values in general. He can play inside, he can play outside. It's hard because it's like, do you pick the player that's going to give you an immediate impact, or do you pick the player that's down the road? And if I know Howie, I think they do maybe down the road, because I think that they can afford to pick some of the guys in later rounds, because it might not be necessarily, the class might not necessarily be, top heavy, but you can pick a guy in the second. Well, we're not doing trades, so, or you can pick a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round and be comfortable. I don't know if I can say the same for the tackle class, or the tackle
and the thing about the offensive tackle class, it's a drop off. After you get out that first round, it's a major drop off. With Howie, we know they value the offensive line. They want to keep guys coming in right after the other. That's what they did with Cam Jurgens. That's what they tried to do when they moved on from Jason Peters. So, I guess I'm good with the Darnell Wright pick here. It makes sense. It's an Eagles thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
Darnell Wright looks good to me, man. I'm cool with that pick.
Okay, here we go. Maybe next time, Raven. All right, we had 62.
Okay.
Here are our options.
Okay. I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, this is like, this is a.
That's a dream scenario.
So I've been thinking, like, we talk about, like, building the trenches, but like also, after Devontae, AJ, and Goddard, there's not a lot of depth wise, at weapons. And you look on the board, there's a couple of different ways you could go here, right? Obviously, Darnell Washington is there, and you're like, all right, look, that might be a pick that you just run in, because he's expected to go top 30, top 40 already. Yep. But then you also think about defensive wise, like safety, you don't really have a long-term answer for safety right now. And you see Antonio Johnson there, J.L. Scarron, I think they're right about that range where you could take them. Obviously you could wait it out. Maybe Sidney Brown, falls into your lap at 94. So, that's kind of my mindset right now. Like we addressed, DB, we addressed tackle. now we have a little bit more flexibility. Edge, I feel like you're gonna be able to get a guy no matter what. Like there's still some really good names here. Like we could wait till 94 and get a Zach Harrison.
Yeah.
Um or get a guy that's a bit more of a developmental player. Receiver wise, obviously Marvin Mims is there too, as a potential option. He met with the Eagles too. Um, so I would think here, I mean, it's either Darnell Washington or do you go for a safety here? In between, in to be honest, I think it would be, for me at least, it'd be Antonio Johnson or Darnell Washington that I would heavily consider here.
I think it depends on what. See, it's so hard because you don't know what the board is going to fall, how the board is going to fall.
Right.
And the Eagles value guys who can block in terms of tight end and guys who can block. Like Jack Stoll played probably way more snaps than he should have. So that they value guys that can block, excuse me. And Washington gives you immense upside as a red zone threat or as a receiver, period. And there was it's not really a stat, but that the Eagles drafted Goddard the same age that the Eagles drafted Goddard. Zach Ertz was the same age as Goddard when they drafted Goddard, I guess, is the stat. So it wouldn't be surprising to see them take Darnell Washington. And I agree with the safety. You know my feelings, Devin, on JL Skinner. So I wouldn't be too antsy to pick him at 62, but I'm a lot higher on Antonio Johnson than I am JL Skinner. But I think you have to pick Washington here. I think you have to.
Yeah, and the thing about Washington, he's a 6 offensive lineman at worst. And you add that to one of the best offensive lines in football. I mean, good luck.
Yeah, I think it's Washington.
Yeah, it feels illegal to even have this option,
Yeah.
but you know how the mock draft simulators go.
Yeah, right.
Tyler Scott.
Yeah, I think this is where it gets interesting because now, I mean, now you're picking potentially a receiver, potentially. Maybe
Yeah.
you go running back and dip your toes in another day two back. Safety obviously is a need here. I like, honestly, if I'm seeing this board right now, defensive wise, of the guys on the list, to me, Jartavius Martin really is attractive to me in terms of bringing him in. I think he has a 3 positional versatility. If you need him to play corner, he could play corner. If you need him to play nickel, he could play nickel. Safety is going to be a bit more of a learning curve, but I like his range and ball skills potential as a safety. Um, and I mean, he's a playmaker. He creates turnovers and is active in a run game too. So to me, and you got a guy like Tank Bixby who is going to be a much better pro than he was a college player, just behind the offensive line. But we talked about weapons as well. I see receiver on the board right now, and Jonathan Mingo is becoming a big favorite on Draft Twitter as a potential big slot. So if you just want to throw out, a potential lineup, I mean, you could go 5 wide receivers, split out Goddard and Washington, and have Mingo, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. That would be intriguing too. So for me, I think the two players that kind of stick out to me, Jonathan Mingo and Jartavius Martin are, or Quan Martin as he likes to be referred to. Those are the two guys that I would really lock in here. And we pick more for maybe down the line. I think these are guys that can be immediate contributors. like next year.
Yeah, I like Quan Martin. I think immediately he gives you a backup slot corner. We saw the coverage breakdowns and the communication breakdowns when Josiah Scott had to come in. We want to upgrade from that position, and Martin gives you that immediately. Going forward, he can play your post safety. He can be your split safety back there. He's got the speed and the range. Decent size. He's not huge, but he's a playmaker back there. And I like the way he plays. That whole Illinois defense, they just play with a type of aggression and swagger. And I like that in this defense.
Could you go to the linebackers?
Here we go.
Okay. Yeah. Henley is probably the only one that I'd pick here, but y'all made it too convincing to pick Martin. So I think I'm right along with y'all.
Yeah, me and EJ big fans of Martin's game, man. I just think he just played on such a talented defense that, you know, they had to get him on the field. It's kind of like a Brian Branch situation where they put him at nickel so he could be on the field and make plays still on the field. But I mean, if you didn't have Sidney Brown roaming back there or Devin Witherspoon at corner, I mean, I could see him at either one of those positions and thriving. And even though he did play nickel, they did rotate him to play post safety quite a bit too. So it's not a completely new position that he'd be learning, just he'll be doing more of it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna go Quan Martin right here.
I get to sit back for a while.
Got a while before we pick next.
Yeah, right.
What y'all thinking of the draft so far?
Oh, A++.
I like it. Yeah.
That fell. Being able to get Gonzo at 8 or 10, excuse me. Being able to get Gonzo at 10 was a major steal. I think Darnell Wright is a classic Howie pick. He might not play right away, but when he plays, he's going to be damn good. Darnell Washington was unfair. I don't really want to say anything else about that one. Quan Martin, to have someone in the secondary with that kind of versatility is something that they're going to need, especially since Slay was a little bit banged up last year. Vontae was banged up last year. Chauncey had missed games before he departed. So your secondary isn't necessarily the healthiest or the most durable, and having a guy who can play safety, who can play nickel, who can potentially play outside corner is going to be big.
Yeah, definitely. And it helps going forward because you got your tall, long, fluid corners going forward. And like you don't have to worry about that position, or you don't have to worry about putting a lot of money into that position. Because money's going to be tight with Hurts' contract.
Oh yeah, they got to knock these picks out the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these 7-round picks, though, I don't know about y'all, but I know teams typically go for traits and, you know, someone they could see be more of a long-term, you know, I won't say project, but long-term developmental, you know, kind of task, I guess. And there are a couple guys that I found a little interesting on this list. In terms of it could be a developmental guy. I like Puka Nacua from BYU. I think he has some speed and some nice traits. If you're looking to add a potential end of roster round 7 type of receiver, if you can go to the receiver position just as a whole, see who else is on the board. Yeah, I would probably say Nacua would probably be someone that I'd consider here. And then I saw Viliami Fehoko from San Jose State, who I like too. I think he can be more of a 4-eye fit. If they want to go that route, since we didn't really address edge in this particular mock. So it's Carl Brooks from Bowling Green as a defensive tackle. He's more of a 3-tech guy that Played some 5 tech at Bowling Green and had some nice rushes and had a nice Senior Bowl week. Byron Young, really stout defensive tackle. Doesn't do anything overly well. Didn't test off the charts, but he's just a sound defensive player. If you just want a kind of a rotational guy, so I'll let y'all kind of decide here. But those are some names that kind of popped out to me when when you were just poking around, seeing who was available, who was on the board.
Yeah, I was looking at Byron Young. He's just a solid rotational guy. Another guy I was looking at was Dylan Horton from TCU. He's a guy that he came down from safety. He put on weight, bulked up. He's got some solid explosiveness. I like his size. He's another guy that you can throw into the rotation, and he can get some pressure off the edge. Maybe you can kick him into some 4 eye, some 3 tech, and get some interior pressure. Yeah, I'm guess I'm looking at either Byron Young or Dylan Horton or Viliami Fehoko, because we didn't address the defensive line yet, and we know how they like to rotate guys in and out.
EJ, I was telling you earlier, I haven't gotten this far in terms of
Okay, I got you.
who to pick. So I trust y'all. I trust y'all. I've heard Byron Young's name a lot. I heard Carl Brooks' name a lot. I haven't even gotten a chance to like read up on some of these guys. So the ball is in y'all court. Whoever y'all feels as though is the best player to pick, I'm right with you.
What you think, Byron Young, Dev?
Yeah, I'm cool with Byron Young, man. I like him. I think he's just going to be a solid dude that, maybe he doesn't make the roster year one, but they can call him up, off the practice squad, and he can give you some quality reps. Jordan Davis or Mil Williams needs a little bit of a break, or they get banged up a little bit. So I wouldn't be mad at it at all.
Do you think
All right, we had 248 now. Now we're just pretty much just taking flyers on guys.
Yeah. Do you think they take an offensive guy, like maybe like a running back?
Potentially, I mean, we could see who's on the board here. See if there might be a guy with traits or, some that might stand out to them. Because obviously we saw a guy like Isaiah Pacheco from Rutgers and obviously go to Kansas City, and he ends up making some big runs in the Super Bowl in their playoff run in general. Because I mean we're clicking through here and not a lot of names. A guy like we already took a tight end. I mean, if they want to continue to pump the tight end train, they could get a guy. Get another guy in there like Britton Strange, who is also a big blocking tight end. But maybe they add a linebacker.
Yeah.
To a group that lost quite a bit from last year. I like Marte Mapu, man. I think he's a bit small because he was like 6'3", 217. He played a little bit all over the place at Sacramento State. Played some safety. They dropped him in Tampa 2 coverage down the middle of the field. So he's certainly going to have to bulk up a little bit, and it might be a guy that they kind of redshirt and allow him to kind of grow. But I like him as a potential draft and stash type of player where you just bring in someone that, can compete and, can really do some nice things at a multiple positions. I think he's probably more of a weak side backer, I would guess, depending on him bulking up a little bit since he didn't really play naturally linebacker at the college level. But he had a big Senior Bowl week, can cover, can play man coverage, can do some nice zone drops and get in the passing lane. So if we're just drafting a guy, maybe a draft and stash, I like him as a potential fit.
Yeah, I'm good with Mapu here. I mean, immediately he's going to be a special teams asset. See if he can get down the field and make the team on special teams. It's not a lot of long-term options at linebacker either. I mean, we got Nakobe Dean, but what else? What else is there? So looking forward, there's an opening for him to grab a position if he wants.
Yeah. I'm all for grabbing special team guys with special team experience or guys who can play special teams, especially since you know how bad the special teams was last season. And apparently they thought that it was a personnel issue and not a coaching issue because they didn't fire what's his name? I'm blanking. What's the special team coordinator name? I'm blanking.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Michael Clay.
Yeah.
Michael Clay.
There you go.
Since they didn't fire Michael Clay, like I think they actually did come out and say that they felt like it was more of a personnel issue than a coaching issue. So if he can play special teams, if he has that experience, I'm all for it.
All right, Mapu, it is. This is what we got.
Home run.
Yeah, them first 3 picks, man. That is, and every one of them are like surplus value. I mean, Christian Gonzalez supposed to be a top 6-7 pick. Darnell Wright supposed to go in like the top 20-25. Darnell Washington supposed to go in the top 30 to 40. Jartavius Martin or Quan Martin is about where you would expect him to go. I would say like into round 3, early round 4. But I mean, you can't ask for a better draft to start off first 3 picks because you can see all of them being long-term in the long-term plans.
Yeah.
And, you know, they all have positional flexibility. Like Darnell Washington can split out, you know, on those goal line situations, short yard situations, but you can also be just everyday blocking tight end if you just need him to be that the first year and just allow Goddard to focus more on the receiving aspect. Darnell Wright can play guard if they need him to play right guard. If Lane goes down again, you have someone already there that can play right tackle. Since Lane Johnson missed some games towards the end of the season. And if you just want to get on the field, like so you can have him at guard, and obviously Quan Martin, we talked a little bit about that. A little bit of his versatility. You know, if you need him to be a backup safety or a backup nickel, you know, or maybe he needs to play one of the DB spots. Like I think his skill set allows him to do that. And then Flyers and Byron Young and Martin Mapu, guys that can be long, you know, kind of developmental guys, especially for Mapu, be a special teams ace, the way he sees a field. Byron Young be more of a depth piece on the defensive tackle. And you're kind of giving more credence and confidence that the combination of Jordan Davis and Milton Williams will be suitable enough to, you know, be a force in defensive tackle since we didn't go early on that. So I think overall it's a solid draft and guys that all can be contributors at some point in their careers, I would say.
Yeah. Right away, Gonzo, like I said before, he's not my number 1 corner, but with the traits that he has, like his ceiling is sky high. Darnell Wright, as you said, can play guard, he can play tackle, and especially since they have that guard spot up for grabs essentially, and Lane might play 12 games the rest of his career, 12 games a season for the rest of his career. Having a guy who can actually, who isn't, not say that Driscoll was a liability, but it was a couple times where he came in and it was just like you can tell that the offense wasn't flowing as well because he was getting beat a lot. Darnell Washington is, again, I don't think there's much I have to say about getting him at 62. Quan Martin, as I alluded to before, he's the versatility that he possesses is huge for a secondary like the Eagles, who is not necessarily old, but getting old and isn't as durable as you would like them to be. And I'll let y'all do round 7. So I'm good with those.
Yeah, I think immediately they're a much deeper team with this draft. You're not necessarily going to have starters, but like there are packages for Darnell Washington that they can come up with. Like 12 personnel is going to be ridiculous. It's because mostly defenses match 12 personnel with base defense. And I mean, Darnell Washington against a weak side linebacker, I take
Easy
that
money.
all day.
Easy money.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's a depth draft. These guys right here, you put them on the roster. Then you look at 2024, and that's when you start to see these guys come to the forefront. But immediately they offer depth. They offer just additional weapons that they can use on offense and defense.
Yeah, man. I'm happy with this. And you seen the trend even last year with depth drafts, I guess. Jordan Davis, he solved the nose tackle position almost immediately for them, but he didn't play as much down the stretch. Maybe it was because, after the injury, and Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh played well. Nakobe Dean obviously didn't play as much because Kazir White and TJ Edwards were handling business for the most part. And Jurgens is sitting behind a first ballot Hall of Famer, so it's not really much you can say about that one.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, hopefully they do this. Hopefully the Eagles are watching this and they can just like follow our blueprint, and then we'll be all good.
Hey man, I'm doing a radio show for my school's a broadcast for my school's radio show during draft day, and I will tell you right now, if we come away with Christian Gonzalez and Darnell Wright after round 1, I might say some words that the FCC might not like.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting to see because you can go through these scenarios and I just feel like there's so many different ways it could go. I mean, I can see a realistic it might not be at these exact picks like a Darnell Wright. They might have to just trade up and get him. You know what I'm saying? Or they could trade back and maybe they kind of move around a little bit. But I mean, you get if these guys are falling at the picks, I mean, it's gonna be a scary time for the NFL in like 2 or 3 years because they're gonna be consistently having contenders and talent in depth. So we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, excellent. It should be interesting to see what they do. But thank you guys for hopping on. You can go read Devin at the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's got excellent work. Go read me and Ramir at Blue Chip Scouting. We got work coming out every week. But thanks a lot for coming on, guys.
For sure, man.
Thank you.